Have you ever wondered what's really going on behind a flight attendant's smile? Or what those weird bumps and noises are at 30,000 feet? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and turn airline industry secrets into your advantage. This is what you need to know to be a safer, smarter, and way more confident traveler.
All right, let's be honest. We've all kind of tuned out the pre-flight safety demo at some point. But let's start with the one image everyone recognizes, that yellow oxygen mask. If those things suddenly drop down in front of you, you might think you've got all the time in the world to get yourself sorted. But how much time do you really have?
15 minutes. That's about how much oxygen is flowing to each mask. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but here's the thing. The real number you need to worry about isn't how long the oxygen lasts, but how fast you need to act.
And this is the part you absolutely need to hear. At high altitude, if the cabin loses pressure, you only have about 10 to 15 seconds of useful consciousness. You won't even feel dizzy or short of breath. You'll just pass out. That is exactly why they are so insistent that you put your own mask on first before helping anyone else.
But, okay, don't panic. Here's the good news. That 15 minutes of oxygen is actually plenty of time for the pilots to do what they're trained to do, an emergency descent. They'll get that plane down to a safe altitude where you can breathe normally again, way before that timer runs out. So just get that mask on fast, and trust me, they're already on it.
All right, now that we've covered that big what if, let's rewind. Let's go all the way back to where your trip actually begins, booking your ticket and getting through security. Knowing a few little secrets here can save you a ton of money and a whole lot of stress.
So, you want to get the cheapest flights, right? Well, timing is everything. Tuesday is your golden ticket. See, most airlines launch their new sales on Monday nights. By Tuesday morning, all the other airlines are scrambling to match or beat those prices, creating a sweet spot for deals. And try to book early in the morning, too. Fewer people are online, so those sneaky dynamic pricing algorithms are less likely to see the demand and jack up the price on you. Okay, you've snagged your cheap flight, you're at the airport, now heads up. That security checkpoint, it's a perfect storm for thieves. Just think about it. You're distracted, you're taking off your shoes, pulling out your laptop, your valuables are all in different bins on a conveyor belt. It is the ideal moment for someone to swipe something while you're not looking. So you've made it through security, you're walking down that jet bridge, you're on the plane. Let's talk about your seat. Because where you sit can make a huge difference, not just for your comfort, but believe it or not, for your safety too. Okay, here's your first move as soon as you get to your seat. Before you even think about stowing your carry-on, reach down and check under your seat for the life jacket. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but people actually steal them as souvenirs. You want to make sure yours is right where it's supposed to be, just in case.
Now, nobody likes to think about this, but in the incredibly unlikely event of a crash, your seat location does matter. Study after study has shown that the front of the plane usually takes the brunt of the impact. This means passengers sitting in the back of the plane statistically have a higher survival rate. You're just farther from the main impact zone and often closer to usable emergency exits. Okay, on to a much happier topic, comfort. Here's a great little trick if you're traveling with someone else. In a 3-seat row, book the aisle and the window seat, leaving the middle one empty. Most solo travelers will do anything to avoid that dreaded middle seat, so there's a really good chance it'll stay empty, and you'll get the whole row to yourselves. And hey, if someone does book it, you just politely offer them the window or the aisle. It's a total win-win.
Okay, you're settled in. Let's talk about the flight itself. There are a lot of things that can seem pretty scary up there, but are actually totally normal. And then there are a few hidden dangers that you should know how to guard against.
In-flight theft happens way more than you'd think, especially on those long, overnight flights when the cabin lights are dimmed. Your best defense is simple. Keep your bag with your valuables under the seat right in front of you. But if you have to use the overhead bin, here's the pro move. Put your bag in with the zipper facing the back of the bin. That way, a thief can't just subtly unzip it. They'd have to pull the entire bag out, which is way more obvious. All right, let's bust some myths. You know that heart-stopping moment during turbulence when you see the wings flexing up and down like crazy? They're supposed to do that. They are designed to be incredibly flexible and are tested to handle way more stress than they'll ever face. Getting hit by lightning? It happens to planes all the time. But the aluminum body just lets the electricity flow right around the outside. And those little axes you might see hidden on board? Nope, they're not for hijackers. They're for firefighters to get to an electrical fire behind a panel.
Okay, now for the really juicy stuff. The cabin crew. They see everything, and they know everything. So let's take a peek into their secret world, from where they catch some sleep to the codes they use to talk about passengers, maybe even you. Ever been on a really long flight and you notice the flight attendant just seems to vanish? Well, they haven't gone far. On bigger jets, there are actually secret crew rest compartments. They're usually hidden behind an unassuming door that leads to a tiny staircase, and they open up into these small windowless bunks right above your head, where the crew can get some much-needed sleep.
And yeah, they have their own secret language to communicate without freaking out the passengers. Some of it is pretty serious. Pan means there's a serious issue, but they're not about to crash. Squawking 7500 is the code for a hijacking. But they also have some fun ones. If you hear a crew member call you a VIP, it might not mean what you think. It could stand for very irritating passenger. And if you're that person who sprawls out across a few empty seats, well, they might just call you a mermaid.
All right, we're on final approach. Landing has all these procedures that can seem a little strange or even kind of alarming to passengers. But trust me, every single one of them has a very important purpose, and it's all about safety.
We've all been there, right? The plane touches down with a loud bam, and you're gripping the armrest, maybe thinking the pilot messed up. But was it actually a bad landing? Or was it something else?
Well, get this, that rough landing might have actually been the mark of a really skilled pilot. When a runway is wet, pilots will often land the plane firmly on purpose. It's a technique to punch the tires through that layer of water so they can get a solid grip on the tarmac and prevent a dangerous skid. So next time you feel a bump, you might just be experiencing an expert move.
And here's another one. You know how they always dim the cabin lights for landing at night? It's not just to create a nice mood. It's a critical safety step. It allows your eyes to pre-adjust to the darkness outside, so if there were an emergency and you had to evacuate, you wouldn't be temporarily blinded. You'd be able to see and get out fast.
So there you have it. From booking your ticket to that final bump on the runway, every single part of your journey has these little secrets. But the thing is, they're not secrets to you anymore. This knowledge really does transform you from being just another passenger into a savvy, prepared traveler who actually understands what's going on and why.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about on your next trip. Knowing everything you know now, from checking for your life jacket to understanding why a landing is rough, what's the one travel secret that's really going to stick with you? The one you'll never forget?